Welcome, everybody. This is episode number 69 of Drum Education Live. And today we have the amazing Brandon KHOO. Yes.
What's up, guys? What's up, Felipe? What's up, Kiera? Thanks for having me on this.
Right live from Singapore with us. So, let me ask you the most common question anybody could ask you. How did drumming start in your life?
Drumming started at a very early age, I would say, at about 10 to 11 years old. I came from a family of entertainers. My late father was a vaudevillian, he was an entertainer, he was a show host, he was a magician, he was a ventriloquist, he was everything. So he was always surrounded by music, by musicians, and I always followed him to his shows and stuff like that. And my late mother, she was a singer. She was a singer in Hong Kong, and she met my dad while she was on tour in Singapore, and that's how they met. And well, I mean, the rest is history. My brother and myself, anyways, I'm one half of a twin,
Oh,
so
okay.
there is another of me. Uh,
Is
and
your brother a drummer as well?
well, we started playing drums together. We started learning drums together from a school in Singapore, and he, after a while, he pursued sports like football and stuff, soccer, and then I continued on the path of drumming. And actually, he was the guy that actually said, why not? Let's try learning drums. And I was like, really, do I have to? And as twins, you were like, let's do stuff together. So I was like, okay. So I went to my first drum lesson with my brother, and the moment I sat down, I saw this instrument, and I hit the snare, and I hit the toms, and the cymbals, and immediately I was drawn to the sound of it. And after that, it's like things just fell into place. Like, okay, I meant to do this. I love this. What is this? What is this sound? It's the sound is like from soft to loud. It's so dynamic. So that's why I love this instrument so much, and I was so drawn to that idea that you can control the sound so drastically. In that sense. So, uh, and after that, I got introduced to music officially, formally. I mean, like I said, I was always surrounded by music, so I was always having music at home or in the car and in my travels and stuff like that. But I was formally introduced to music. Why I say formally is because my very first love was rock and roll. My very first love was hard rock and metal music, and which got my dad worried for a while. He was like, my son wants to be a rock drummer, like, why not jazz, or why not something else, why rock music? uh, but nothing could pull me away from that genre because of that energy, that sound, that huge, that wall of sound that hits you. And I remember the very first bands that I was exposed to were bands like Motley Crue, Dio, Skid Row, the 80s metal and stuff like that. So uh, nothing could pull me away from that. And after that, I would suppose the rest is history. It's a very condensed version, though.
That's okay.
So I mean, it's a yeah, but that's a very condensed version.
Cool.
Did you get into that music because you were drumming?
Uh, I would say that everything sort of like fell into place at the same time. So I couldn't say it is because of that music or not, but it's like, okay, I wanted to learn drums, so I like, as I mentioned, I went to the school and with my brother, and we learned the drums, and immediately I was like, okay, what kind of music should I listen to? And somehow, uh, my late father's colleagues were like, okay, listen to this. So they passed me Motley Crue cassette tapes back in the day. Motley Crue and Dio, and I remember looking at that picture of that Holy Diver album, and I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome. I'm gonna put it on and I'm gonna listen to it, and yeah, and everything just like fell into place, and as mentioned, I was always surrounded by music, so the other side would be the Carpenters, the Air Supply, and all those stuff, and which is stuff I dig a lot. So yeah, everything sort of like fell into place. Chicago, all those bands, but hard rock and metal music sort of like were introduced at the same time as I was learning drums. So that was my go-to uh, 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 genre to play along to, and I fell in love with it immediately.
Cool. Who was your first drum hero?
Tommy Lee.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good one. Good one to
Yep.
start.
It was Tommy Lee, and then down the line it was guys like Rob Affuso from Skid Row, and then Fred Corey from Cinderella, and all those guys, and they weren't really exactly playing speed stuff. They were like really playing, laying down the groove, and that's about it. And it was that sound, that sound to me. It wasn't anything about the speed or anything like that, but it was the sound of the snare, that sound of the kick drum. And to me, it's always been a fascination for me. How sonically you can be moved by something. You don't have to be physically moved or mentally moved. You can be emotionally moved by something, and it will lead to your body moving along to it. And it was those guys, the guys that just kept the kick on 1 and 3, the snare on 2 and 4, the hi-hat on the 8th note or the quarter note, and they were just doing their thing, and that's about it.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
So when did you start playing the double pedal?
Wow. It was probably in the early 90s. I got introduced to Slayer, the big four, the Slayer, Testament, and I heard this sound, and actually the first band I remember where I heard this really fast, quick double kick was Manowar, and they were doing this thing there, and I used to try to figure out how to do that with one foot. I was like, how did the guys do it? And it was just that my leg was twitching, and I was like, I can't do this. And then I saw somewhere that they had 2 kick drums, and I was like, how does this work mechanically? So I got introduced to double pedal since I could not afford 2 bass drums. So I got introduced to double pedal, and it was just sitting there, and I was just trying things out. I wasn't really schooled in double pedal. I remember asking my drum teacher back in the day. I was like, "Can you teach me double pedal?" And his first response to me was, "No need double pedal. Just play one pedal will do." I was like, "What? Oh, okay." So I had to renegade that. I had to like MacGyver that shit, like how to do it, like how does this work? And I would think that was my really first introduction to double pedal with the thrash metal bands, and then after that was the prog metal bands, Dream Theater. It was Mike Portnoy. It was Symphony X. It was Virgil Donati. It was so many people down the line, and yeah, that's again a very condensed version of how I got introduced to the double pedal.
I was going to ask you about Drumeo. Excuse me. I loved your video.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask a couple of things, like how did you find the experience, and when they asked you to do it, Did you know immediately what you wanted to do, or how did that come about?
Okay. First, the experience has been nothing short but life changing, because it's one thing to do shows and stuff, but it's also another to be on a platform like Drumeo, because I would suppose it's one of those experiences where you are on it for the first time in your life, and you realize that you don't know who's watching. It could be one person, 10, 100,000, I don't know. Until now, I still don't know the figure. But uh, I think, and then just talking about watching it live, because I did some live stuff on it, and that was the one that was really nerve wracking for me, because I didn't know who was on the other side, and but I I took the opportunity to realize that through that whole time, because my late father was a vaudevillian, he was an entertainer. He always told me, whatever you want to do it all the way. Don't do it halfway, because if you're going to do it halfway, then there's no point doing it at all. Firstly, secondly, if you're going to do something like that, go all out. Don't be too afraid of people judging you or what you do or what you say, because whatever I say today might be different tomorrow, or whatever I feel today might be different tomorrow. So what I'm presenting now is how what I'm presenting now in terms of content is what I feel today. It could change tomorrow, because the only thing constant is change. But I mean, there are things that are concrete in terms of thoughts, process, and concepts. But so when I did that show, I realized that I needed to learn to express my teaching to another level, because I was I was going through the topics like that really quickly, but not knowing who's on the other side. It could be a beginner, it could be intermediate or advanced. But then I remember Dave and Jared saying, "You got to slow down. You got to slow down, because what we present may be something that we've been playing for 10 years, but the other person may not understand the concept as well as we do. So we got to try to explain things in a very, very basic and elementary level, to to the point that even we get bored, because like we can play an eighth note on a hi-hat, a kick on 1 and 3, snare 2 and 4. But you present that to a new student, they'll look at you, they will just, can you do that again? And sometimes we forget, we're like, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? But then I realized that not everyone is at that level to play an eighth note, or a quarter note or half note on a kick and snare. So you have to slow things down and present things as slowly as possible. So the experience of Drumeo taught me to really take things slow, and taught me empathy in terms of students and how they absorb stuff. If they cannot get it, you explain it till they get it. If it takes them 10 lessons to get it, you explain it to them again and again and again until they get it. And you don't move on from there until they get it. Find some way to get the message across to them, because everybody learns at a different rate, at a different thought process, at a different degree. So what may be easy to me may not be easy to you. So we've got to. So the experience of Drumeo has taught me empathy and to take things slow when explaining things to students.
And I think it's a very important point you're making about the basics, because the first thing that even before we were introduced and we got started following each other on social media, I saw that video where you talk about the most expensive drummer in the world, right? And I thought, man, here's the guy telling exactly what I want to tell to everybody. So thank you, Brandon.
It's such a good one. It's such a good video. I've seen it.
Thank you. That video has gotten so much positive feedback, but also negative feedback because
Negative.
people started saying, yeah, like, okay, if Ringo Starr was a good drummer, then what about Neil Peart? Like, sure, I love Neil Peart. Like, I understand where they're coming from, but I don't think they got the point of what I'm trying to say, which is, if I'm playing a song with a simple hi-hat thing happening, and this is just the side stick, no kick drum, then it should be that way all the way. If someone says like, okay, you're gonna play Tom Sawyer, I can't do that. I have to do Neil Peart. So what I'm trying to say is, you got to serve the music. You got to serve the song. If I'm playing death metal, I've got to have the chops to play death metal. And if I'm playing a pop song, I've got to have the chops to play pop song. And when I mean chops, I don't mean speed stuff. I mean, you got to know where to play the hi-hat, not how many groups of 16th or any of those notes that you just place within one beat. I mean, you got to know where to place a note and how to play the note. It's the when and how instead of the how many notes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like you cannot play Seven Nation Army like Tom Sawyer.
No way.
Well, technically you can, but it's not gonna sound good.
I mean, there's so much to say with regards to that. I mean, people are doing a lot of rehashes of songs. Like I hear a song that's been done in the 80s and now it's being done today in a different form, and it's more energetic. They metal up the song, or they twist the song to another form. But to me, that's the beauty of music. People might argue, you got to keep things as it is. For me, I'm like, okay, if it sounds good now, okay, then cool. Have you heard of Olivia Rodrigo's "Good for You"?
No, I haven't.
I might know if I heard it. I know her.
It's huge on TikTok, anyways.
Okay.
So many bands have done versions of that song. I mean, if you do a quick search, Olivia Rodrigo, "Good for You" right now, and the chorus comes on, you'll be like, I know that song. You see? So many bands have done different versions, and all of them sound killer. So I'm like, okay, there's one part of me which is the purist, which is going, no, you have to play it like that. You have to play it like that. You have to play that. But the other part of me is like, no, wait a minute. This guy, this person plays it more kick-ass than the original version. So who's to say that he's wrong? He's adding, a few more notes here and there, but you know what? You can't get Picasso to paint like Michelangelo.
True.
There's no way. There's no way that can happen. So, I mean, if you ask me to play like Mike Portnoy, I go like, can I? Maybe, but can I play it like him? No, there's no way. I probably can play every single note for "Pull Me Under Note for Note" by Dream Theater, but can I play it like Mike Portnoy? No way. There's no way.
Funny thing is, some years ago, I didn't get a gig playing in a Led Zeppelin tribute band because I didn't play exactly the notes John Bonham played. But he never played exactly the notes he recorded.
Exactly. So for me, it's always been that. I mean, Kiara, Felipe, you guys do your own thing. I've seen your Instagram. You guys do your own thing, which is great. I mean, there's no way I can sound like John Bonham. There's no way. I don't think there's any way that Jason Bonham can sound like John Bonham.
No.
Right? There's no way. So I mean, I think point is, people have got to stop expecting this person to sound like that person, because everybody is different. Nobody can sound like Steve Gadd. Nobody can sound like Vinny. They are that special person. Just like nobody can sound like Kiara. Nobody can sound like Felipe. Nobody can.
There was a guy in my hometown that he sounded very much like Dave Wackel. And one day he played in front of Dave Wackel, expecting Dave to look at him and say, "Wow, how amazing!" So he played. Dave looked at him and said, "Okay," and he went like, "Just okay. I play exactly like you." And then Dave said, "So what's the point? If Chick Corea wants Dave Wackel, he's going to call me. He's not going to call you. You have to be yourself. Then you have a chance to play with Chick Corea."
I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, I think it's great that drummers, and sometimes when I say to my students, I say, who do you listen to? And some of the beginner students goes, "I don't know." But there's your inspiration. You start to throw them the people that you listen to, and then from there you watch them grow, and they may like what you throw at them, they might not, but that's really up to how the universe or fate, like maybe they go home, they listen to this song, they go like, "Oh yeah, I like this drummer, but this isn't a drummer that Brandon introduced me to." Different.
Cool. I think it's time for that question, Kira.
I was just about to ask it. So, what do you think is missing from drum education today, if anything?
Okay, what's missing from drum education? Has anything been said that I think I had that hasn't been said yet?
Well, it's your impression.
Yeah, we want to know your thoughts.
Yeah.
I would say that it's not what's lacking per se, but okay. Let me try to put things into perspective. I would say that there are a lot of contents now, but you have to really go and zero in to what you want to learn. And if you go into this video and you see this drummer doing what he or she does, and you go like, "Okay, cool, that's cool. I want to learn it that way." But then it might not be the way that the original drummer plays it. It's fine, But it depends on how you absorb the information. So for me, okay, I'm straying off a bit. What really is lacking, I would say, is quality from both sides, teacher and student. Because I always tell my students, it's a 50-50 thing. I can tell you to sit down and practice I say, okay, try this, practice your double strokes at 50 BPM for 5 minutes, bring it up by 10 BPM for 5 minutes, and slowly move it up until you get to a point where you start to fall apart. Stop at that BPM and make sure you get it right, and then from there move on. I can tell the person to do that. I can tell my students to do that. But if my student sits down and just takes out the phone, watches YouTube. Oh, okay, gets back to it, and I can't help the person. You see, so I would say that's quality lacking from both sides. The instructors and the students, and I always believe it's when the stars align, when you meet the right teacher, that teacher will probably inspire you to do more. But if I sit down and there are many times I put my students through hell, like not in a bad way, but more like, okay, you got to do this, like keep doing your single strokes. I don't stop for 5 minutes, another 5 minutes, just keep going. And you can see on their face, they turn white. They go like, I have not experienced this ever in my life. What am I doing? What's happening? Like, oh my God, my hands are all cramping up. And I go, didn't I tell you that this is how you should be practicing? Like, did you write it in your notes? I sent you the email and stuff like that. Did you check it? No, I didn't. And then, okay, there you go. You see, so There's nothing I can do. You only spend an hour or so with me. The rest of the 23 hours, I don't know what you do. So you cannot expect to come back a week later and go like, I can do what you taught me last week. You know, so it's quality on both sides. It's not quality just on the instructor's side. You know, of course, the instructor does play a part. Uh, so it really depends. Like I say, it's how everything aligns. Uh, I have had students who come and horror stories. If you want to, this student came and he said, I want to learn how to do those fast fill-ins, those chops. And I go like, wait a minute, fast fill-in, fast chops. Okay. Before you do that, let's try this. Then I introduced to him to John Bonham. When the levee breaks. He heard the stuff and he looked at me and he said, oh, you know, honestly, I don't care for that. And I go, okay, then I can't help you anymore. I really can't. If you come in to a lesson with a certain mindset, then there's nothing I can do. Because if you can't keep things simple, then you cannot progress further. If you can't, I mean, I like to connect things with sports. You know, like that's the closest relation to music, because sports and arts are both of them. You need repetitive training to get to a certain level. If you give Ronaldo or Messi a ball and you expect them to not run through the basic movements of controlling the ball, they can't play like what they do today. You know, it's simple. If I don't sit down and tell my students that one and two and three and four and simple. If I don't teach them that, it's my fault. And if my student goes out, oh yeah, what did your teacher teach you? Okay, play something simple. I can't. It's my fault. You know what I mean? So I will make sure that my students try to get as the most basic stuff down first before I said, okay, you're ready to do this. If not, if you want to learn chops, then go to someone else. I don't want to sit down and run you through chops, because I don't want you to go and just play chops and that's about it. Fast chops and that's about it. I want you to go out and play. Nobody ever says, check out the drummer. He's so fast on the double kick. He plays double paradiddle with a polyrhythmic feel of 14 over to the power of 32 and go. Nobody ever says that. But people always say that drummer is so groovy. He makes the band gel. Right? They don't say, oh, do you see his linear fill in on that? He played a floor tom and he played an alternating kick drum on that. He floor kick on the 2N EN. No, nobody does that. You know, but everybody always says like, oh, Jeff Porcaro, so groovy. Steve Gadd, you know. I mean, I love prog metal, prog rock. I love the fast stuff, but I also love the simple stuff. And I think that's the most basic thing you can start a student with. Maybe it stems from the fact that I learned stuff that way from the 80s metal stuff, which was just that's about it.
Yeah, don't you think there's people are forgetting the basics, like, because there's so much information on YouTube, and you see, as you said, this polyrhythm of 5/6, and then
2 words: instant gratification. Right? Like, who would sit down and watch a social media or someone go, 10 seconds, move.
Not even
Right?
that long.
3 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, they would see. Like, yay, light goes up, yay, but you see, that's the thing. I try to tell my students, if you cannot keep things simple, if you cannot learn to control the ball, if you cannot learn to pass the ball, you are not going to be able to play the game. Nobody wants to play with you because all you can do is just show off. That's about it. You know. So I back to the question. Just a long explanation, but back to the question. I would say it's from both sides. The teacher has to go, I'm only going to teach you the basic stuff for now, because that's how I want you to grow. I want you to have a very strong foundation. Like what Mike Dolba said, he says that the most important teachers are the teachers that are teaching the most beginner of students. And I totally agree with it, because that's where you build that strong foundation. If you don't have that foundation, you don't have anything. If you don't have that sticking technique, if you don't have that, I mean, technique is not everything, but it helped. It helped me a lot in my journey. I had of learning drums. If I did not change the way I hold my stick while playing drums, I might not be able to play drums today. Thanks to Don Familaro. He I believe he taught us a lot on preservation of your hands. And if not for that, I probably would not be able to play drums, because I was holding my sticks really tightly. So if a student can't stay grounded and focus, like, okay, I've got to get this down first, then the teacher can't do anything more than just, okay, you want to play fast, I can teach you fast, but that's not going to get you anywhere. You're not going to get any return customers to your gig. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly. I had a student many years ago that he came to me because he wanted to learn double pedal.
Right.
And he couldn't play a simple groove with a single pedal. And then I said, I think we need to work on other stuff before we get you to the double pedal.
Yeah.
And then he got really crossed and he said, I hear that from every teacher. I'm going to give up drumming. And I said, maybe you should start listening every teacher you've been to. Instead of giving up drumming, listen to what these people are telling you.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
It's like they don't want to put the work in. They don't want to. They just want to skip the hard stuff and get to the good. Doesn't work like that for anything, does it? No.
Kira?
I was going to ask you about your drumsticks.
Right.
Because you're with Vader and you've got the special signature sticks, right?
There they are.
Oh,
yeah. With Vader, yes. And they've been very, very, very kind and very supportive of my career and everything else. So really, huge shout out to Vader and everybody at Vader for being supportive of my music career. And I just received another shipment of their drumsticks, with which I've yet to open. Okay. Yeah, but these are, I mean, if you do play Vader, I mean, they are, to me, I've been playing Vader for many years, probably since the 90s. So I like my sticks to have a thick shoulder, a really firm shoulder, and simply because I hit hard. So what happens is, a lot of times when I hit hard, sometimes something's here doesn't break, but it breaks over here. So I like my stick to be pretty much one solid stick. So that's how this stick came about, and it is actually the if you search through the Vader catalog, is the Vader 3A model.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So that's my Vader sticks.
Cool.
Cool.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask you about your band as well.
Right.
COEN. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, it's COEN.
Yeah, so cool. I really like Dream Theater and such bands. So when I heard your music, I was like this. I like it a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Can you tell us what you guys are doing and, tell us a bit more?
Well, I mean, COEN itself was formed with a guitarist friend of mine who we used to play in a band in the 90s. And what happened was life sort of happened. He found a day job, and that band that band didn't happen anymore. And many years later, while I was still doing my nightly gigs and doing the pop stuff and session stuff, I was like, I need an outlet. I love the pop stuff, I love the simple stuff, but I also love Dream Theater stuff. So it started by, I think I was supposed to do a drum clinic in Japan, and I needed stuff down. So I contacted him and I said, why not we do some rehashes of the old songs. We go into the studio, we record the stuff, we rehash them, make them sound modern, and yeah, I think we did two of the songs, but it snowballed to why not we write more songs, and we stay at the studio, we wrote more songs, and yeah, it came then. COEN Remnants of Yesterday came about, the album, and one thing led to another, and yeah, so we went on a tour in 2018 in Japan and 2019 as well in Japan. It was extremely fruitful, and yeah, and then pandemic hit.
So your band is literally big in Japan.
Literally big in Japan.
Yeah. And what's the meaning of COEN?
It's coexist, which is the CO, and encompass. You encompass all the influences together. So COEN, coexist and encompass, COEN. Okay. And the album cover, which you see here, is a it's an illustration of all the song titles within the album itself.
Okay. Nice.
So this concept was designed by a friend of mine from India. His name is Ishan Kumar. Huge shout out to Ishan. Yeah, so he thought of this idea and this concept, and then this came about. So
cool.
So hopefully, after maybe if everything opens up in 2021 or 2022, things can start to happen more after that. If not, then we'll just wait on and see what happens, because I think right now, as much as we want to move forward, but travel is a bit impossible for us. Yeah.
True.
So I've seen on your Instagram that you've been doing recordings during lockdown, and that's been happening for you, which is really, really great. Do you think like COVID has changed your drumming goals in a sense?
COVID has, I would say, not only for me, but I think for a lot of people, changed the way you grow, because what used to work pre-COVID, it doesn't work now. Let's face it, but I would say I'm thankful for COVID, because, and I would say that a lot of people are thankful for COVID. I mean, on hindsight, when they look back, they would actually go like, wait a minute, if it weren't for COVID, I would not be doing recordings, I would not be doing video editing, and we would not be doing this interview. And I would say that a lot of people grew a lot through this experience, because I did a bit of video editing pre-COVID, but during lockdown, I had a lot of time to sit down with my Mac and go like, okay, what can I do? And videos started to come up, lessons, and the need to play with people sort of led to collaborations. So like the recent collaborations we did with Mike Levers and Yanis from Greece, It's just one of those things where I said I need an outlet. And initially, I think it started with the cover of a song by Van Halen called "When It's Love." So I did that collaboration of a few friends from Thailand and Malaysia, and which led to more collaborations from Greece and Japan. Now there's one more coming up, in which I won't say who yet, but I'm pretty excited for that one. I'm also filming more lessons, so that will be on my YouTube channel soon. So yeah, it has given me an opportunity to grow in so many aspects. I mean, if it weren't for COVID, I would not really sit down and how do I actually work this interface? How do I actually record this? I had to learn from a few friends. Like I had to call them up, like, dude, can you help me with this recording? And I had to watch them, like, what do you exactly do? Oh, what does that button do? What does that do? And I had to force myself to really sit down and do it. I mean, if it weren't for COVID, my setup would not be like this. I would still be going like, I'll just do gigs, it's fine. But because I knew I had to step up my game in terms of teaching and online tutorials and contents and teaching. One of the guys actually was the guy that I looked to, and he was one of the first guys that actually go like, oh yeah, I can do stuff like that, was Jim Toscano. And I saw his setup. I was like, oh, I can't get exactly to his setup, but I can pretty much try to get it close to it. So then this came about. So the drums, the communication and stuff like that. So that's how it happens. And with Zoom, you can share screen and stuff. So the notations, I can easily like, okay, what's happening here, and stuff like that. So yeah, how I used to do stuff prior to COVID, and now they're very different. My goals haven't really changed much. I still want to play with people. I still want to teach. I still want to record and have stuff archived in either video format or audio format. But I think it's how I do it right now is different. The goals are the same, but wait a minute, now I have to do things differently now.
Cool.
Right.
Excellent. Right. Thank you very much, sir. It was amazing.
Thank you.
It was really good. It was really good.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here.
Pleasure.